Welcome to the PWTorch Livecast. I am Wade Keller, editor and publisher of the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, a 16-page print publication since 1987, over 25 years in print, mailed worldwide every week, and also editor of the PWTorch.com website and also the MMATorch.com website, and now the PWTorch and MMA Torch apps on iPhone, Android, Amazon Kindle Fire, Windows phones, and Samsung Smart TVs, model years 2012 and older. And I'm also host on Tuesdays and Fridays of the PWTorch Livecast here at PWTorchLivecast.com, hosted on the Blog Talk Radio Network. It is Friday, so that means it is Interview Friday on the PWTorch Livecast. And today's guest is a returning friend, Diamond Dallas Page, former WCW champion, headliner during the Nitro era, stints in the AWA before that, and WWF after that, including a feud with The Undertaker. And he now is known for DDP Yoga and housing Scott Hall and Jake Roberts on their recovery in their life from addiction and health issues. And we're going to get an update on all of that. A lot of exciting things happening for him. He's got a new ebook coming out within a matter of days, so we'll talk to him about that also. DDP, let's start off with the book that you've got coming out. I got a press release on that the other day. It's an ebook. Tell listeners about it and how it came about, how they can get it.
Well, you know, this is it's really crazy because this was the beginning of the whole DDP Yoga journey when I had already developed this workout, and this is the earliest stages of it. I was calling it YRG back then. You remember that?
Yep.
And
Yoga for regular guys.
Yeah, right. And they wouldn't let me call it the YRG workout. They wanted to know that it was yoga for regular guys. So what I did was I highlighted the letters in red, YRG, and wrote yoga for regular guys so they would print it. But this was my version in the beginning of just for men. You know, I developed this book for guys who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga. It was sort of like the Man Show meets my version of yoga. So it was a lot of TNA.
Yeah.
You know, I had smoking hot chicks. Kimberly was in the book. There was just a lot of hot women in that book and regular guys that were doing my program. Matter of fact, Cody Rhodes is in that book. Doing positions back for DDP Yoga positions, you know, back then YRG positions, back in the original book. And we took a very tongue-in-cheek approach to it. So we made it funny at times and sort of mocking on yoga just a little bit for fun because regular guys would do that. And, you know, it was a very serious book, though. And what happened was, you know, we sold about 20 or 30,000 copies. And I never looked at that book as being like the catalyst for this is going to like change the world. I looked at that book that gave me credibility. I wrote it with a friend of mine who is one of my partners, Dr. Craig Aaron, better known as the Yoga Doc, and this guy had been practicing like warrior-type yoga for over 20 years, but he was also a chiropractor, applied kinesiologist, and one of the best, you know, adjusters that I knew that really knew the body, and he was 6'2" and, you know, 230, so he was a big guy, too, so he was a stud football and baseball player, you know, growing up, total athlete and heavy metal rock and roller that really helped me grow in that area of because I bounced a lot of things off of him as I was creating this thing that's now DDP Yoga. And the reason why they're actually re-releasing it as an ebook, when the Arthur Borman, the disabled veteran that I helped walk again, when his video went viral, well, it didn't say DDP Yoga anywhere on it, not even in the writings on YouTube, because we were just trying to inspire people, because if they thought we were trying to sell something, they wouldn't have sent it around virally like it did. And right now, Arthur's video has over 9 million views, but not everybody, but a lot of people wanted that book. So the price, you know, it's supply and demand. The price of that book online to buy it new was $200. If you want to buy the book used on eBay, it's $79.80. That's the average price, $79. So they're going to release this ebook, which so many people have iPads right now or iPhones or, Kindle or whatever, that they can get the book for like $12 now and, have it everywhere. And so what we did is we went in when I knew they were going to re-release it and put DDP Yoga on the top this time, got rid of the Yoga Babes stamp and put the It Ain't Your Mama's Yoga stamp. And then we talk about in the opening, forward, like why this is what it is and where this all started. And this was really like the embryonic stages of what would become DDP Yoga. So that's really what the whole deal is on this. And we are about to release on the same day that this book comes out, which is, I believe it's Father's Day. I believe that's June 16th. I could be wrong,
I think you're right, yeah.
It's somewhere around there. When this releases, we are also going to start our certification, our DDP Yoga certification program, which we've already got like a lot, and I mean like thousands of people who want to be certified in DDP Yoga around the world. And our first level of certifications, level 1, will be completely off the internet. And level 2, then you'll have a lot of work on the internet, but you also have to come face to face. So, because level 2, level 3, and level 4 all have to be, to get that, I have to know that you personally, like what you're doing. Yoga Doc's going to run all the level 1, and he's such a great teacher and really knows the body at a whole different level. It's going to be really, really cool, man. We're excited about the book's release, and that'll be part of the certification. You got to have the book because you got to know where it all started, and there's a lot of questions in our 100 question, the test that we do, which is basically an open book because you're learning about everything. It's really exciting. So we're going to launch the certification program along with the book being released. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's really cool. I want to go right to an email question before I have some follow-up questions myself on things. Definitely want to talk about Jake Roberts and Scott Hall and that whole thing that has just been amazing. Both of them since the last time you've been on the show. It's been a while, Dallas, since you've been on the show. But both Scott Hall's been on twice, Jake on once, and just fascinating story about what they've been going through, so I want to talk to you about that. But I've got an email question from Eric Ferrara from Stockton, California. He said he's a VIP member for a few months and absolutely loves all the Torch content. I really wish I could call to speak with DDP myself, but since I have to work, this will have to do. I played a serious yo-yo game with my weight, had the gastric bypass surgery 3.5 years ago, and have gained about 100 pounds back of the just over 200 pounds I lost. I ordered DDP Yoga a few months ago, but was procrastinating on starting using a list of never-ending excuses. I finally started 2 weeks ago, and I'm kicking myself for not starting when I first got it. I've noticed a significant reduction in the soreness in my joints. I find it easier to get around, and my wife even says I am happier now. I can't sing the praises of DDP Yoga enough. It has already significantly improved my life. Thank you, and God bless you for doing this, DDP. And thanks to this, I will own my life. Bang. Not really a question, but I thought you'd like to hear that comment right at the start of the show. First, it's got to be gratifying when you hear stuff like that. And I know I've seen enough of those. I know you didn't write that, Dallas, because there's a lot of people out there. But the praise for your product, and I'm not trying to sound like a pitch man. We're not going to do a whole hour in DDP Yoga for those who aren't interested. Believe it or not, DDP. Few people don't care about DDP Yoga, but we try to change that as much as we can. But it sounds like you wrote that letter. There are so many people who have given testimonials like that, and having done the program myself, I mean, it really is. It really is a cool thing that I think you've made something accessible to people where they would have never done it before.
It's I am humbled by I get choked up about stuff like that because it happens every day, Wade.
Yeah.
And I don't mean once. I mean, it could happen as many as 5 times in a day.
Yeah.
If anybody, don't listen to anything I have to say or Wade has to say. Just go to Facebook. On Facebook, DDP Yoga, one word. Read what people write.
Yeah.
Back when, and Wade, me and you go back to the beginning of my wrestling career as a manager and the whole ride. I mean, God, I think we met on my first day. Didn't we meet on my first day?
Yeah. Yep.
I know. And we've had our ups and downs together as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean.
But, the bottom line is we've both been there, and you hadn't started yours all that early at that point, so we were both sort of starting at the same time. And when I see, or read or watch a video, God, dude, I mean, it's so humbling, and it chokes me up a lot of times because, to me, it's just like I'm just turning people on to something that helped me, and I mean, that guy, Arthur Borman, he gave so many people hope, and that's a big word, hope. I gave one guy hope, Arthur Borman. He's given millions hope. Same thing with Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
Same thing with Scott Hall. All I did was give those guys just threw them a lifeline. That's it. I didn't do the work. I didn't prod them into doing anything. It's just like, hey, try this. And me and you have talked about this in detail. When you get people eating real food, and there's a big thing right now. Have you read all this stuff about Monsanto and heard all this stuff about Monsanto lately?
No, I haven't.
Monsanto is a huge company that's genetically altered the food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have heard about it. I haven't read a lot, but I'm curious about it. So
you're going to hear so much about it in the next 3 years that it's going to freak out a lot of people. But for me personally, like Monsanto being the huge corporation that they are, that there's any attention being put towards them because they're so powerful. I mean, they're just such a powerful company that you'd think they were untouchable. But it just goes to show what people who really care can do. And what I try to do is get people to eat the food that's not genetically modified. And I've gotten such amazing feedback from my eating plan. And the eating plan for DDP Yoga is simple. Eat food that your great-great-grandparents ate.
Yep.
And if you do that, you will feel different. I watched it happen firsthand with Jake through the entire journey and watched him go from being such a negative son of a bitch to hating life, hating waking up. You did the interview with him. None of this is canned. It's the real shit. And I've watched his attitude on life change in 8 months to be like, I've never even met this Jake Roberts. Really lasts like 3 or 4 months. It's occasionally he'll still step back and being that sarcastic, negative son of a bitch once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's brief. It's in, it's out. But so much of it has to do with the food that we eat. And like that gyro, which is really awesome, amazing.
And DDP, I'll jump in. I eat pretty well most of the time. And as primarily a vegan, I'll have wild Alaskan salmon if I'm out on a family dinner. There's no choices, and that's a couple times a year. So I'm not 100% strict, but I'm about as strict as it gets in that I won't even eat no whey protein, that kind of thing. And so I had a pretty good diet, but I had been eating some processed food. And in April, I just cut out all processed food, all sugar, and almost all gluten. There are a couple places that I ate that are really healthy restaurants where they had some gluten, and I ate it. But and all deep fried food. So no corn chips, which is a bane of my dieting. And I didn't think that my diet was a negative on me, because I for most people, I'm like, they just are sick of hearing about me and food and my consciousness of it. But when I did a few extra steps, no fried food, almost no gluten, no sugar, and no processed food, it was amazing. I mean, it was another step up of feeling good. And it's been funny hearing, you mentioned Jake and Scott sometimes slipping back. It's fun when they're on the show and they'll like say something and go, oh, I hope Dally didn't hear that. Or that's not allowed in this house, so I better step out of the house if I'm going to talk like that. Like, it's funny, but their attitude, I think people are so skeptical of this, and a lot of people kind of roll their eyes and like, give me my, my staples and my diet. I'm a man, and this is American. I'm going to eat this and that. But when you hear Scott and Jake talk about it, I think it has more credibility, certainly than me, and probably even than you, because Scott and Jake have traveled different roads. And that's what's been really kind of fun about having them on the show, because as wrestling fans, we're fascinated with them as people. I think we feel a bond with them from watching them, and the fact that they care enough to be on this show and interact with people on Twitter and all, YouTube and all that stuff. you want to kind of, I think people are curious to see the journey that they're on and how it's going, and it's been really fun watching them. So you're totally right. Diet can totally affect a mood, not just how you feel physically, but how you feel mentally. And I even took that step in April. And seeing Jake and Scott go through it and have them be guests on the show and be such great guests and have such great attitude, it's such a testament to what you're doing.
Well, you know, again, all I did was get two of my buddies eating real food and, you know, doing a workout that wasn't going to beat them up. You know, right now the number, you know, P90X was the dominant force on you know, infomercials, et cetera, for years. And its stepsister was Insanity. Well, over a period of time, Insanity's come to like kick P90X's ass right now. And the two probably hottest workouts are Insanity and this CrossFit thing. That's in the gym. These workouts, you know, great workouts if you're young. But if you're not young and just like studly, you're going to get seriously injured.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, I love those workouts because every one of those kind of people, they can't do regular yoga. They can't go into a yoga studio and be humming and chanting and shit.
Yeah.
They just don't have it in them.
Yeah.
But they can do DDP yoga, and they'll love it. So it's like, you know, I honestly believe, like, in the next 3 years, we will be the number one workout for a lot of reasons. And a lot of it's because, you know, there's a real care factor here. And it's, you know, it's not just me. It is Jake. It is Scott. I mean, those guys are like two different cats. You know, Scott's just now going out and doing appearances and stuff. And, you know, he just came back from a charity appearance that he did for the bombings in Boston. And, I mean, he was just, you know, loving it. You know, just like a whole – and I've known that guy for over 20 years. And to watch his attitudes change and his beliefs and, you know, and now his son Cody's actually staying with us, too, for a couple of months.
That's right, yeah.
And what a great kid he is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, when he finds his own niche in the ring, he's going to be a huge star. And I'm just saying because I've been pretty accurate picking people who really could be at the top of the game, you know. And he really has a crazy work ethic. I mean, crazy work ethic. And he's just a really good kid. And he's 6'8" and 260, legit clean.
Wow.
You know, so. I mean, he's going to really and Scott's loving it, you know, having him around. And, you know, this place is a madhouse right now because my daughter's in, you know, she's in, you know, the country for another 2 months. Her fiance's here. My niece is over. It's like Grand Central Station, not to mention all the people we got working here. But, you know, again, it comes down to eating food. And listen, if you're listening out there, please just go watch a movie on YouTube. Watch Seeds, like a seed, SEED, Seeds of Death. Watch that one. Or Food Inc. Or Genetic Roulette. Any one of those. Don't listen to the wrestler, you know, and the talk show host. Listen, go read what the top people in the world who really care about nutrition and us as humanity. You know, watch those movies, and you will definitely set you back a bit.
Travis Bryant, co-host on Mondays with Bruce Mitchell on here on the PWTorch Livecast, is very anti-GMO, and he messaged me on Facebook and said, "Wait, you know, as a vegan, how do you reconcile that with having to eat so much soy? Because soy is so genetically modified." And I actually went to the fridge and took pictures of a couple of things in my fridge and sent them to Travis that show that at the, you know, where I shop at the co-op, it's non-GMO tempeh, non-GMO tofu, but I also told him I don't eat soy that much. You know, as a vegan, I just don't. I mean, it's a few times a week, but it's not the dominant source of protein. And I think a lot of people have misperceptions about that. And not that you pitch veganism, because you're fine with people having what just in short, and then we'll go to another a call and an email on some wrestling stuff. But in short, your diet is no dairy, no gluten, and real whole food. And as far as protein, you know, primary protein sources, what do you recommend?
Well, I'm still a meat eater, but I don't just eat regular meat. Again, watch the movie Food Inc. Yeah. It'll make you want to be a vegan or a vegetarian.
Yep.
When I'm home, and I'm home about half the time, maybe a little bit more, when I'm home, I'm only eating step 4 beef, which means, this is again, step 4 beef means your great-great-grandparents, they had a cow, and it ate grass, and then they slaughtered it, and they made the meat. It was real meat. It wasn't full of anabolic steroids. It wasn't corn that they were feeding, because cows eat corn. Well, cows will eat anything you stick it in front of them.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, when they eat corn that's been genetically modified and it actually has pesticides within the seeds of the corn, again, watch those movies, and it's all right there. It's changing the genetic structure in not a good way. And in this scenario, for me, I'm going to eat the clean chicken, meaning the chicken that's raised like chickens are supposed to be raised, and I'm going to eat the clean chicken, the clean fish. I'm not going to eat the farm-raised fish, because if you've seen how they raise those, like farm-raised salmon, if you saw how they raise that salmon, which is twice the size of a regular salmon because they've changed the genetic DNA of the salmon, you'd go, whoa, what's that? You really would be, oh yeah, and they feed that same corn to salmon. They feed it to everything because it's so inexpensive. You got to watch those movies. You got to educate yourself. Get your head out of the sand. Stick your head up if you want to, then that's all I really do. I just get people eating real food and doing my workout because it's fun. It's a fun workout. It's funny, I talked to a couple friends yesterday who were doing the CrossFit, and they were friends of my buddies, and they were like, oh man, that I left the gym today. I was like so hurting. I've never met anybody who got off my mat after one of my workouts and say, boy, I wish I didn't do that. They're all like, wow, I feel energized. I'm ready to go. But me, myself, I've walked out of the gym numerous times going, oh, my God, my shoulder. Oh, I pulled my back. I've screwed myself up plenty of times. So I know the deal,
Let's take a wrestling email question, then we'll get to our phone calls. If you want to give us a call, we're going to start taking calls now. So it's a good time to call in. We've got 4 people on hold already. The number is 646-721-9828. 646-721-9828. I'm Wade Keller, joined today on Interview Friday at PWTorchLivecast.com by Diamond Dallas Page. And we are talking DDP Yoga, and now we're going to talk some AWA and WCW memories. Jeff Farrell from East Bethel, Minnesota says, Dallas, did you feel like Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond were underrated as a tag team? They were known as Bad Company.
Absolutely, I think they were underrated. Those guys were amazing. And I mean, that was what a great experience that I was so lucky to have going into the AWA and basically being a fan. I want anyone who's out there who's listening, who have always dreamed of being the WWF or WWE or TNA or WCW or whatever. That was me. And I made up a videotape of me managing these guys that never were wrestlers and never would become wrestlers. And I sent the videotape to the AWA. And when they picked me up and brought me in, all the stars were in alignment. Paul Heyman, back at the time, Paulie Dangerously, had just left and went to the NWA, which would become the WCW. So there was a huge hole there. So they saw my tape, liked my stuff, and brought me in. And I get to be with Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. They were just becoming the world tag team champions. Those guys, very, very, very underrated.
Yeah, look them up on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, amazing, the tag team stuff. People, if I was a tag team today and I was a young kid, I'd just go steal all their stuff.
Have you?
It would be amazing. Yeah, I think they're underrated. I think Pat was really, really special.
Yeah.
I think that Paul was a really great worker too. But the two together were they. I mean, the matches that we had, I should say them. I was there, as their manager on the side. But the matches that they had with the with the Rockers, with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, and with the Guerrero brothers, they were unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
And Yeah, a formative time for Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, and I bet they'd have some good things to say about working with Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. Also, have you kept in touch with them over the years at all?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, had you kept in touch with Pat or Paul at all over the years? I was kind of curious.
I occasionally do talk to Patty, absolutely. Every few, maybe 6-7 months, 8 months, we'll catch back up. You know, he has the midget guys right now, right? Him with Hulk Hogan.
No, tell me about it.
He's got a group of midget wrestlers.
Yeah.
And those guys are so entertaining. And they come into like a bar or Vegas, and they've got a whole card, that they put together, and Pat does all the booking. So, he's partners, I think, with a guy named Johnny Green. It's one of the things he does, but he's still out there working. And when I got with Pat Tanaka, it was 1988. So that's 25 years ago. Pat Tanaka's knee was so bad you could move it in a circle. And I don't understand how he could still hit the mat the way he does and the crazy stuff that he still does. Off the chain.
Wow, very cool. Jeff also asked on the email here, what were Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Kanyon like in and out of the ring? Both of them have died. Too young, obviously. I
heard you say Chris Kanyon. For some reason, it's starting to break up a little bit, but I can make out what you said. Chris Kanyon and who?
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Bam Bam and I go back to when he was 16.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how far. I think I was 22 and he was 16. I think I was 6 years older than him. Bam Bam back when he was a kid, he could be a bad son of a bitch. And the later, as he got older, he become more the big teddy bear. But back when he was a kid, boy, he was one of the baddest son of bitches that I knew. And I knew him because he could still get in the bars. He was 6'2" and 300+ pounds. We were both from the same county in Jersey. And actually from that same county, it was me and Bam Bam, Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, Danny DeVito, and Jack Nicholson. Same county, all of us. But Bammer was a great guy, really. It was such an honor, for us to be world tag team champions when all three of us were together. Chris Kanyon, man, God, he was like a brother to me. Never even thought for a moment that he was gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, according to Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, and I don't think anybody really cared, when he finally came out. But I never even thought about that when we were hanging out. But he was such he loved the business. And I think that in the ring, his work was as good as anybody's. I mean, of all the guys that I would love to wrestle with, he was one of the top guys I'd love to wrestle with because we had worked out that power plant for so many years. And we knew each other's moves. And, he was 13 years younger than me. But, man, when we got that ring, man, me and Diamond Dallas Page and Mortis had some great matches. And then later on with the Canyon when he was doing the impersonation of DDP, Positively Canyon, yeah. That I thought that was some entertaining stuff. I miss them both, but I think Chris wanted to die. I talked to him right before he killed himself. Not the day of, but within a couple of months before that, we had talked quite. I tried everything I could to get him on the right track, but I just couldn't do it. And when I woke up the one morning and I heard that he was dead, I mean, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. And you said he wanted to die? He just was so depressed.
Oh, he when you kill yourself, you want to die.
Yeah.
And he tried to kill himself 3 times.
Yeah, just awful.
He wanted to die. So, I mean, he did. And I didn't understand it, but it was what it was. I wouldn't, if you had told me that Chris Kanyon would try to kill himself back when we were coming up in the mid-90s, I would say you're smoking crack. There's no way.
What do you
think
happened?
You never know what's really deep down in there. Now, Jake, he never tried to kill himself, but he wanted to die.
Yeah.
So I knew that. That was pretty, plain to see. And I just never thought Jake would kill himself, though, unless he OD'd or something. But I never thought he would do that. And, that's where the whole thing came with me and Scott, was when X-Pac had sent me a direct message on Twitter. Please, Dally, give Scott a call. He said he's going to kill himself. And, when me and Jake called him, we never expected him to answer the phone. Because I've called Scott probably 12 times before that. He never answered the phone. And very, very, very rarely would call back.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to Chris Kanyon just for 1 second. What do you think changed about him? Because when you say you would have never thought he'd be somebody who would have ever considered suicide, did you have knowledge of something changing in his personal life, or did he have trouble coping with life after wrestling, or were there maybe issues with concussions and depression related to that? Did you have any? Can you piece that together a little bit?
I think it had to do with. Scott Hall said it, in we were doing the Indiegogo thing to raise money for his hip surgery, which I want to thank any of the fans and all the fans who helped him out, because Scott couldn't even ask for the money. I had to, because he wouldn't do it, because he just had too much pride. And, all the fans that helped him out, it was just really, really, really huge. But, with Chris, I think that, the whole WWF, WCW thing, I think that in not being used the way, he saw himself being used, and fading off, and not really having the life after wrestling, and he, as he did, he could have worked a bunch of independents, he could have become a god on the independent scene. But I think he just lost the fire and the spark. And I brought Scott up before, because Scott had said, what do you do when the people stop chanting your name?
Yeah.
And the one thing that is guaranteed, pretty much everyone except for that really chosen few like Ali, Hogan, Flair, I think no matter what they'll chant them, no matter whatever happens. But for the most of us, for the 99% of us, they stop chanting.
Yeah.
And how do you make that transition from football playing, player, superstar, or baseball, or wrestler, whatever? People say a lot about the wrestlers and how they end up broke and stuff. Every boxer I ever met ended up close to broke, if not completely broke. And those were top guys who made lots of money. Mike Tyson, went completely broke before he turned his whole life around. By the way, have you had a chance, Wade, to see the Tyson, the one-man show that he does?
I haven't.
It's amazing. Spike Lee directed him in such a way that, this guy, I know how hard it is to go out there and talk for 45 minutes to an hour, because I've done inspirational talks. It's challenging.
It seems like a struggle for you, Dallas.
I'll tell you what, bro. 2 hours straight, he was nothing less than amazing.
Wow.
I never was bored.
Wow.
And I mean even lightly, like, okay, when's he gonna finish this up? Never.
Wow.
I was mesmerized the whole time, but so was Jake Roberts.
Wow.
And so was everybody else in that building. He was amazing. And anybody gets a chance to watch it, I would wholeheartedly tell you got to watch that.
I wonder if being able to stay connected on Twitter, as superfluous as it might sound to some people, might have helped Chris Kanyon. To stay connected to fans and have encouragement, have people talk about memories, being able to kind of get up every day and know there's people who remember you, who want to hear from you and talk to you. I just think Twitter's been really good for a lot of wrestlers, because it's not something I've experienced, because I've never walked into an arena and had people chant my name, or gotten a pop from 10,000 people. But, when you have that and it gets taken away, having that connection to your fan base through social media, and Twitter's a great way to do it now, I think has to be helpful for a lot of guys to adjust to life after the bright lights.
I totally agree. I think YouTube's awesome too.
Yeah.
But Twitter, well, that's a life of its own. And I watched, Scott go from not knowing how to turn on a computer, never knowing what an iPad or an iPhone was, to being Mr. Twitter.
The first time he was on the show.
The first time him at Scott Hall NWO, or at Jake Snake DDT, or at Real DDP, or at DDP Yoga. But Scott, He knows the damn Twitter world right now. And that whole Indiegogo thing that helped Jake and Scott have their operations, and and give them a little cushion on top of that. Because Scott, he can't get insurance right now with his heart the way it is.
Yeah.
So it really helped him out a lot. But more than anything, it helped both of them to know how much the fans really cared. That was huge.
Yeah. Well, the first time he was on the show, it's right when he started using the iPad and right when he started using Twitter. This was earlier this year. Great show for new listeners of the Livecast, by the way. Go look in the archives for it back. I think it was in March of this year. Just go to PWTorchLivecast.com and scroll down. He's been on twice. Great guest. And it was awesome hearing him talk about this. It was like, a kid opening a new gift. It was like this new technology, and Scott was joking around about it, but you could tell even early on he liked it and thought it was a pretty cool thing.
I'm sorry, I missed the end of that, bro.
Yeah, I just saying he liked Twitter from the beginning. You could tell, even if he was a little confused by it at the beginning. So it was fun having him on the show when he was first learning about it.
It's funny because the first time we were explaining it to him, and I gotta mention this. There was somebody on internet that had because there's always the jerk offs that gotta have their negative comments because it's just who they are. They have to do it. Their comment was, so DDP thinks he's going to be able to help Jake Roberts and Scott Hall by teaching him how to do social media. What's wrong with him? Mm-hmm. And you know what? The social media probably was one of the single most important things for both of them, just like what you just said. And when Scott, I'll never forget the first time he tweeted out, and like 5 people answered back. He went, what? Like, I can say something and they're going to just talk back? I go, dude, they're online. They're paying attention. They're in it.
Yep.
And it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch.
Very cool. Let's go to the phone banks. I appreciate the patience of the callers on hold. Our first caller is area code 7. Whoop. All right, let's go to our first call, area code 706. 706, please state your name and where you're from.
How's it going, gentlemen? This is James from Columbus.
Hey, James, good to hear from you. What have you got for Dallas Page?
I just have 2 comments. The first, I want to touch on that thing you were saying about CrossFit and P90X and all that. In my opinion, it's not just for young people. I mean, it is just for young people because it also causes joint pains too. Because when I was in the service, they made you do CrossFit, and I've also done P90X in the Insanity workout, and yeah, you get great results, but it's at the cost of your joints, in my opinion. And I'm only 27 saying that. Also, I have gone to DDPYoga.com. I haven't done it yet, but I will say this. I saw the Arthur video, and as a veteran, it really did touch my heart. And I know so many dudes out the service that can't even pick up their own kids because of their back problems and stuff like that. And I've actually told them about DDP. They haven't been sold yet because they haven't seen the Arthur video. But once I'm able to show that to them, I'm pretty sure they'll hop on that because, I mean, these are people who can't even look down and see their own toes. I mean, and not even just because they're overweight, it's because the strain on their neck and all the stuff they were doing in Iraq. But just to get into my 2 questions I wanted to ask you. You had a match with Sting on Nitro for the WCW title, and in my opinion, that was probably the best match I've ever seen under 10 minutes. That match was kind of the match that catapulted me from being just a casual watcher to a diehard. And very quickly, I would like to take you back to that exact match and just ask you how you felt about it if you remember it.
All right, I heard a chime, so I know Dallas is having some trouble with his phone. Was that you coming back online, DDP? Okay, sounds like we lost him, but he's got the call information, so he'll probably call us right back. James, I took good notes on your question because I thought we might have lost DDP, so go ahead and ask the second one, and then I'll take notes on that, and we'll keep you on hold too.
Well, it's just to go into the match that he had with Sting on Nitro, just so he knows what I'm talking about, and then I'll get into the second question. The match was just pretty much, like I said, it was on Nitro. DDP had the title.
DDP.
Yeah, he's back
cool.
on.
Yep, he's back on. So, let me, James, go ahead.
Oh, I'll just go into the match. Like I said, I just wanted to ask you, DDP, about this particular match you had with Sting on Nitro and how you felt about it. And just to get into it, to clarify exactly what I'm talking about, like I said, the match was on Nitro. You had the belt. the match psychology was off the charts. You really came in kind of high strung, but Sting had this real calm, cool demeanor, and throughout the match he was kind of getting in your head. But long story short, the final sequence was you had Sting trapped in the turnbuckles, and you were going in for the diamond cutter. And you went in for a few times, but long story short, he goes to reverse it for the Scorpion Death Drop and gets the win. But that match, in my opinion, was very rare because you rarely see a match where a person loses and gains everything. And you lost that match, and you didn't look weaker. You just made one simple mistake. And I think that's a match that a lot of people can learn from today. And I wanted to know if you remember that match, just kind of go into it. And my last question was, you did The Devil's Rejects, and I thought that was a pretty awesome movie from Rob Zombie, and I liked their part in it. From the makeup, I didn't even really recognize you at first. But I wanted to know, since you're in Atlanta, have you thought about getting into the budding independent film market in Atlanta, like trying to do a film here or there or direct a film? Because I'm in that particular market, and I would love to have you as an actor or whatever, just a part of that particular film market. And that's all I have.
All right, thanks, James.
Wait, can you hear me okay?
I can, although if I talk or a caller talks, actually, yeah, if I talk or a caller talks, we're getting that echo again, so you probably switch back to that original phone.
You're breaking up every other word, bro. I mean, I could barely hear him. I only heard him say something about Nitro and Sting. Are you hearing your voice again?
I'm hearing you fine, but I am hearing my voice again. Did you switch back to the original phone?
Yeah, I had to because I couldn't even hear you and it cut out. I mean, it was like every other, it was like sign language. I can hear you a little bit better now, but I didn't hear. I think I heard our question. I think he said something about the Nitro match of me and Sting.
Yeah.
Yep. About that.
Yep. You want to talk about that a little?
Oh God! As long as you can hear me, I'm cool. That match to me, I mean, that's one of my favorite matches, like top 5 matches, and that's the one where I lost the world title and won it back that night, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you what happened during that match. Like, everybody knows I like to know what I'm going to do in my match. You know, I want to know what my beginning is. I want to know what my heat is. I want to know what my comeback is. I want to know so I can have the preparation with the improvisation. Now, I've also been blasphemized for wanting to know my match from beginning to end, which I could do that too, or I could go out there and call it all out there. Now, it's never going to be that match that's laid out, because you just can't do all that. You can't get into all that detail. But that night, and I'd worked with Sting enough that night I could work with Sting in any situation. And Sting was having some personal issues at the moment. Not sure what they were. I can't remember. But he was a little hot-headed over that period of time. And what happened was he felt like people were trying to take advantage of him because when you're in that top spot, you think that sometimes. I just watched a lot of guys go through that. But during our match, whenever you see me go on my knees and throw him to the ground, we were in the middle of the finish. And I think it's Charles Robinson. I could be wrong. Whoever the ref was, I'm thinking we got like a minute left. He says, Diamond, they need 5 more minutes. I go, what? Like 5 more minutes and 1 more minute? That's a whole different world. As you know, a lot of guys on the matches, especially before it went to the 3-hour show, some of those matches with entrances were 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So when you got 4 more minutes and you're already in the finish, I just threw him to the floor. And if you can watch his mannerisms, you can tell he's really getting pissed. Like this isn't part of the plan. We're going in the finish here. What are you doing? And he's really mad. And at some point, I have to grab him and really choke him and go, we got 5 more minutes. And I gave him an overhead chop because I was really pissed at him. Because I'm not trying to take advantage of you, dude. I just want to they need more time. And that match, we went into a bunch of false finishes that, we had done different times. We just called it all in the ring. And when we got to the ending, that pop, when he went to go for the diamond cutter and I went to go for the diamond cutter and he held the ropes. And then I went to go again and he held and then stepped out. Hit me with the finish. That's my finish. But, man, that move blew off. And that was, to me, that was always the, how good was the match? I don't know. How did the people react? Oh, they blew the roof off. And you know, wait, this is a little piece of Nitro Monday Night Wars trivia. That was the last quarter hour that the WCW won.
Wow.
That's a little piece of trivia there. And I believe he was talking about I heard him say Atlanta and independent films. Am I correct about that?
He did. He talked about Devil's Reject and thought, I don't know if you can hear me well, but he asked if you had thought about getting into indie films in Atlanta, because he is involved in that.
Well, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, Jake just started, going on readings and stuff, because he's always wanted to pursue an acting career. And, like he said today, he said he just never had the confidence. But the people, he's just in a different spot. Like he came in, after going to meet with this one, this agent that was, the big one of the biggest agents here in town. I can't remember their name. And when he came in, I mean, they took the meeting as a favor to somebody, but once they didn't know who Jake was until they got there. Then all of a sudden they put it together, and they became huge fans of Jake Roberts, or I should say Aurelian Smith. They became big fans of his. And he came in from the meeting, and I was just doing something. He grabbed me and he hugged me. And I go, "What are you hugging me for?" He goes, "Dude." He told me about the meeting, and he said, "This would never have happened without what we're doing." And it was genuine. Like, thank you, man. And I had the same moment with Scott. I can't remember what it was, but I think he had just come back from where he was at, and he just felt really good about his life. And we had talked. Oh, I just got back from Costa Rica. That's what it was. And Cody, was up and had moved in, and I turned him on to a couple of other things, and I was starting to leave. He goes, "Hey, come here, give me a hug."
Yeah.
Because it's really awesome, and that's the kind of stuff that's the real money to me.
Yeah.
The real that's the stuff. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with, wow, this is really working at a different level. And it's pretty damn cool.
Let me just check in. Can you hear me fine? Because suddenly I'm not hearing any echoes.
Now you're not hearing me that good.
No, I hear you fine. I want to know, can you hear me?
Well, I hear you better. You were breaking up big time before.
Good.
My ear close to the phone as it can get. I'll be in the phone.
Yep, and we are hearing you pretty well, so I just wanted to know if you could hear us. So let's go to another phone call, and we'll go next to area code 860. 860, you're on with Diamond Dallas Page. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hey, guys, it's Pat from Connecticut. How you doing?
Doing great, Pat. Thanks for your patience. What have you got for DDP?
Oh, no problem. DDP, I just wanted to say that you're one of the main reasons I watched WCW back there in the Nitro days. And, I just love how you're helping Scott Hall and Jake and your whole attitude on life. It's very inspirational. But I just had a question for you, and I just wanted to know if you had any advice for a 29-year-old starting wrestling school to become a manager and maybe a referee, maybe get into commentating. I'm actually going to be starting a school in July, and I know you did it at a later age. And I actually have been in club promotions my whole life, so I thought it was kind of similar. So any advice on that for me?
Well, I tell anybody, especially starting, getting into this business, you got to love it at a degree that you really don't care about anything but going out there and performing. Because I have a lot of kids, that come up to me and, how do I get in? What do I do? And the first thing I explained to them, I said, find an independent promoter that's booking, some, towns in your area. And you might have to drive 40, 50, 100, 200 miles to find them, because they may not be right there. But once you find that, that independent promoter, offer to do stuff, like promote them, set up chairs, set up the ring, and that's where it all starts. It sounds like you're past that, but I want any other kids listening to this to understand it. That's really what it takes, For me, I came at it as a whole different side of it, and I tried doing it when I was 22, and it didn't really work out for me. because I guess my time wasn't supposed to be till I was 40. Who would ever think that's possible?
Yeah.
But anybody who gets in this business, they've got to be satisfied for working that independent card. I mean, you got to go in wanting to get to the main event of that independent card. Like I like, occasionally, watching CM Punk, which I'm a fan of his, and of Daniels, Brian Daniels, and I've watched some of their matches that were on YouTube in front of 60 people. But you pop that match out and pop it on WrestleMania, and I'll guarantee you the people are popping just bigger. Because those guys loved what they did at such a level. If they never, who would ever pick that, Daniels would be in the spot. He would just say, okay, you for your body, for this, for that, we're going to pick you number whatever. But that guy, he was out there the other night. I caught Raw. I think it was last week, the week before. He was out there with Kane and Orton,
yeah,
and the Shield, and I don't care if he's 5'7" or 6'9". That son of a bitch was as big and as bad as electric, and I think maybe more over than anybody out there.
It is. DDP, you're so right. The last 3-4 weeks, he has become at the top of the conversation in wrestling. It is absolutely amazing how he's caught fire. You are witnessing, and everybody's witnessing, if you're not watching Raw, then you're not witnessing a really special time because Daniel Bryan is breaking out in a very organic way. It's been incredible to watch.
It's real, and it's very Eddie Guerrero-ish, and Chris Benoit-ish, where the fans just say, this son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he loves what he's doing.
Yes.
And if he never made it to the show, if he never got to WWE or never got to TNA, I think he would have been, wow, I would have loved to have done that, but you know what, I had a hell of a time, in, Moose Breath, Iowa, in front of 200 people, man, me and Punk, or pick a guy, we tore it down, I mean, so if you love that, you got to make sure you love that.
Yeah.
And, one of the reasons that I'm so adamant about getting my buddies that came through this business with me, into doing DDP Yoga is because I know that their bodies are going to be there for them when they get to the end. Like, I would love to have had Edge, do this 15 years ago when I first told him about it. And especially 10 years, I was going, Adam, trust me, bro, you want to do this. I'm 15 years older than you. You got to trust me. Well, not 15, excuse me. 18 years older than you. You got to trust me here. And he just wasn't going to do it until he had his second neck operation. And now you go to DDP Radio and look up DDP having Edge on my show.
Yeah.
He promotes DDP Yoga as if it's what he's doing. And I don't mean just the workout. I mean like it's his life. Because in 3 weeks after his second neck operation, he felt the best he had felt since he was like 18. His quote, not mine. So I really encourage anybody. And it's funny, I walked into because I do the independent shows here and there. Me and Jake Roberts are going to be in LaSalle, Illinois tomorrow night. And we're just doing an autograph signing there. But, I like to show up at the show 4 to 8 weeks, and basically just bring people and sign autographs, take pictures with World Title Belt, just have fun with it.
Hey, DDP, I hate to interrupt you, but it's probably in the last 10, 20 seconds we just started losing, being able to hear you clearly. I'm not sure if you did something.
Damn, I'm going to call you back later line. Call you back.
Sure. All right, you're listening to the PWTorch Livecast. We're at the 1 hour mark. Diamond Dallas Page is our guest. If you did not listen last week, one of the most acclaimed interviews we have done in the entire history of this show was with Hardcore Bob Holly. He was on for an hour and 37 minutes, I believe is what it was. Stayed more than twice as long as was scheduled, and all over Twitter, email, Facebook. Callers to the show blew up with people amazed at the insight and the perspective that he provided from the late 90s through the 2000s when he was in WWF. A real eye-opening interview as far as who Hardcore Holly, Bob Holly is, Bob Howard. And also a big recommendations for his book. Recommend you buy it for sure if you're interested in WWF behind the scenes in the 90s and 2000s. The Hardcore Truth by Bob Holly, available on Nook, Amazon Kindle, and in bookstores and many other places. And if you haven't listened yet, check it out. It's on last week's show. All of our shows are available at PWTorchLivecast.com. If, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you're not a VIP member, you can become one and gain access to over 25 years' worth of interviews. We're adding to them all the time, including our 20 years ago radio shows that featured interviews, journalist roundtables, and my discussions with Bruce Mitchell, Dave Meltzer, Mike Tenay, George Shire, Mick Karsh, many other people who may be familiar names to you, discussing pro wrestling 20 years ago. Every week we put up a new radio show from 20 years ago that week, covering wrestling 20 years ago. We just talked about Slamboree and 1-2-3 Kid upsetting Razor Ramon on Raw 20 years ago. Those are some of the latest subjects we talked about. Lots and lots of cool stuff. When you go VIP, the place to go is pwtorch.com/govip. In just a couple of minutes, if we get a good phone connection, Dallas Page will be part of a VIP after show. We're not done yet here on the free show, so don't give up on us yet here. But VIP members will get to hear some bonus content after most editions of the Livecast. There's a VIP after show, and there's tons and tons and tons, hours and hours and hours and hours of other content that we put up that we put up for VIP members that is not available on the free website. So check that out when you can. All right, let me text DDP back because he claims that he's on hold, but I do not hear him on hold. So let me tell him to call back, and we'll try this again. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. Normally we have a little bit better luck with phones, remarkably better luck with phones, considering how cell phone technology can be, especially with someone like DDP who travels a lot, and a lot of our guests. So we appreciate you bearing with us, and I appreciate the callers who are on hold being patient. Our phone number is 646-721-9828. If you have if you have any questions or comments for DDP, give us a call. And I'll be asking DDP in the VIP after show if we can hook up with him again about what Bob Holly had to say about him in his book. Some good stuff. Bob Holly will be a guest on the show again in the future, too. So he said so on Twitter. He's replied to a number of people who complimented last week's show and has said he's looking forward to coming back on the show. That will be one worth tuning into live. Right now, we are scheduled next Friday to have Mick Karsh on the show. He's only been on once before, I think, a former AWA announcer and really astute observer of the AWA, closely followed Larry the Axe Henning's career and Kurt Henning's career. So we're going to talk to Mick Karsh next week about the Henning family and the Henning legacy. Hey, DDP, we got you back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Excellent, no problem. Give me 10 seconds. I'll wrap up mentioning next week's guest, and we'll get back to a couple calls and a couple more emails, and we'll go from there. So Mick Karsh next week. DDP, you know Mick Karsh well. He'll be our guest on next Friday's show, and he will be talking about the Henning legacy. He also follows the product closely, still watches Impact and Raw every week. And so Mick, great sense of humor, started off in wrestling as the president of the Nick Bockwinkel fan club. He had a good choice of a legendary wrestler. Any Nick Bockwinkel memories, DDP? I think you were there at the very end of Nick in the AWA.
I was there at the very end of Nick. Never really got to know him, but respected him like crazy. Yeah. And I remember when he came in to WCW, and I want to say that he wrestled with Dory Funk. And they did. I don't think it was. I think it was a 20-minute match. I thought it was an hour in my brain, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it might have been 20 minutes. But him and Dory, they went out there and just did old school, wrestling, in their 60s. He was an amazing. He still looks good. Yeah, I saw him not too long ago.
I think he's one of the best bump takers in the history of wrestling. People always compare, great bump takers like Dolph Ziggler to Shawn Michaels and Kurt Hennig. Guess who Shawn Michaels and Kurt Hennig watched take the best flatback bumps in the business? Nick Bockwinkel.
Yeah, right.
Yep. So the lineage goes backwards. I'm not sure who Nick emulated. Maybe Ray the Crippler Stevens, who was great also. But Nick inspired and showed Shawn Michaels and Kurt Hennig in the AWA in the 80s how to do it, how it was done. Well, I've had some people on hold a long time. Let me jump to a couple calls here, DDP, since we got a good connection with you again, which is great. Area code 240, thanks for holding. Please state your name and where you're from.
This is Ryan from Cumberland.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for holding so long. What have you got for us?
Got a question about James Dillon, the Bulldog. Does Dallas feel he can make it in WWE or Impact Wrestling? He trains with Dallas a good bit.
Damn, I will totally lose him. Did you repeat what he said, Wade?
Yeah, he just wanted to know about Bulldog James Dillon and if you think he has potential to make it nationally.
Well, he actually he's been down here for a little over 2 months. I've got quite a history with the Bulldog. Known him since he was 15, I guess he was. His mom had written me, an email to ask me to send her son some positive words because he was 292 pounds and 5'6" and 15. And I was just dealing with Arthur's story in the beginning then. And long story short is I ended up calling his mom, talking to her, getting him on the phone, and he lost like 100 pounds in 10 months. But I also had him eating the way he needed to be eating and doing the workout all the time. And then after that, a lot of people, when they fall down, and regain the weight or start doing drugs again, they think they got it, But an addiction is an addiction. They never really have it unless they fight it every day. And Dillon blew up to 358 pounds, 5'7", and 6 years later. And we were bringing different editors down into the crib to work with us. And I always loved that kid. And I told him, I said, if you can lose 20 pounds on your own, in a month, we'll give you a shot. And he did it, and he came back down here, and it's a real journey for him, but he's down a total of 51 pounds in I want to say 3 months. Is that right, Steve? I think that's right, 3 months. And he's got a good attitude on life. Jake loves him. So does Scott. They both love him, because he's a worker and he's respectful, and he loves just being around the whole scene. And we're probably going to do some independent shows here down at Cody's down here, and Dillon is he knows how to run a town. He knows how to book a promotion as far as trying to put asses in the seat. So I think within the next year we'll have our own little wrestling organization, that could have a little bit of legs. I think that's something that Scott and Jake really want to do. So, as part of the life goes on thing, and I think that Dillon will be a big part of that.
Very cool. Let's go to our next caller. It shows up as 111, so the number is blocked. Please state your name and where you're from.
Hey, guys. It's Lenny from Brooklyn.
Hey, Lenny. Thanks for calling. What have you got for DDP?
Dallas, I have a question about, I know you were like one of the first guys that would come in through the crowd, and, now it's kind of a common thing, and you have it with both heels and faces, and, occasionally there's an incident. And I want to know, how you avoided any incidents, I guess maybe because you were a face, and also what do you think of heels coming through a crowd, like The Shield or Bully Ray, or CM Punk,
Wait, you're going to have a better connection. But I heard say I was one of the guys that came through the crowd. I was the original guy to really do that. And he said something about The Shield. What did he say exactly?
Yeah. How do you feel about heels going through crowds like you did, and how did you avoid incidents with fans? Perhaps because you were a babyface. But
I ran fast through the crowd. And when you do see me in the midst of all the people, I was a huge baby face, but people still try to touch you.
Yeah.
But their hand isn't reaching out to touch you. Their hand is trying to reach you as you're moving through, so it's coming really fast. Yeah. So I got slapped a lot, but it was oh my God. I think it was, that's the biggest thing I almost miss, as far as what do you really miss about it besides the money? Because I probably did get to where I made a lot of money. But the thing I missed the most was going into the crowd because the people would go crazy. Now that I think that your Shield, I think they're like heels, but heels like the NWO were to a certain degree, and I'm not putting him at that level. I happen to really like those guys as far as what work I've seen them do in the ring. I love their look, their presence. Obviously the company thinks a lot of them because they're all over the place, and I like them guys a lot as far as what they're doing. I think not many people have reached out to slap those guys because might think they're going to get slapped right back.
Well, Punk did. Punk had someone get in his face, and he swung around and knocked somebody over who was not the person irritating him.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think heels, like Punk is, there's people who think, because Punk's not that big that they can kick his ass, and Punk's a tough son of a bitch. I mean, he's a real shooter, and he prides himself, in what he does and what he can do, and I think that it's a tough spot, going out there and being a heel and going in the crowd. Me and Randy we'd fall all through the crowd, but I don't think many people were sort of afraid of Randy too, I don't know. It's a touchy spot, and you can do really great with it and get the people really going, or like that kid, whoever it was, who reached out and whacked Punk. I don't know how that ended up. I wish Punk the best on that, because normally we don't really touch anybody unless they come in the ring.
Right.
And climb through the ring. That could be a bad choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, DDP, let's wrap up the PWTorch Livecast part of it. And I'll have a few questions for you in the VIP After Show part after the music. Any final things you want to give plugs to? Plug your website, Twitter, anything else?
Well, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at RealDDP, and that's RealDDP, or at DDP Yoga. Anybody who's out there, who really wants to know what DDP Yoga is all about, don't even listen to me. Don't listen to Wade. Don't listen to what that guy wrote in, which was very cool. Go to Facebook. One word, DDP Yoga. Read what people write. You could never make people chant DDP. So the people out there who never thought I was really over, go back and watch some of those matches. And everybody in the building is chanting DDP. So you can't make people do that. And you can't make people write stuff.
Yeah.
It either comes from the heart and they really mean it, or they don't, and they really don't say anything. And I'm just really grateful to have, been so fortunate to have been able to put all the work in. Like, I put so much work into becoming a professional wrestler. I know you appreciate it, Wade, but I don't know how many people really appreciate how much work I had to put in to get to that spot. And the same thing goes for DDP Yoga. I mean, I work 24/7, 7 days a week. So does my partner, Steve. So do a lot of other people who work for me. And, we're having a great time, and we're living the dream because we got a whole new animal blowing up in DDP Yoga that is like changing the world stuff. And I'm going to be in, anybody who's listening, I know there's a lot of people who tune in the UK to Wade's show. I'll be in Swindon, England. And I'll be there on the 27th and 28th. I'm doing a wrestling seminar, and I'm doing two DDP Yoga workshops, and I'll be at the wrestling show in Swindon. And then the next day, after that's over, I fly to Dundee, Scotland, and I do the same thing all over again.
Wow.
I'm going to be there doing a seminar. I'm doing a DDP Yoga workshop, and I will be at their building doing the wrestling show, and then I'm doing a Q&A in Glasgow, and then I fly back to England, and I'm doing autograph session at the Comic-Con there for Saturday and Sunday. Then I fly to Mexico, and we actually have 2 rooms open. There's going to be over 70 people at my retreat this year, Wade, at the DDP Yoga Retreat. And if you can't make it this year, we got 2 seats open, meaning 2 rooms open, but that's it. I was closed down, but I had to reopen it because 2 people couldn't, make the ending pot. So if you go to DDPYogaRetreat.com, you'll see a 5-star resort. It's really economical, and it's a lot of fun. So that'll be in Mexico from the July 10th to the 15th. So I'm on the road for like 3 weeks there, and then just for the shits and grins, I'll tell you, I got invited to Tony Robbins' seminar in Chicago, and that's a guy I'm a mark for. I'm really looking forward to meeting him, and at some point, DDP Yoga will be Tony Robbins, his workout plan that he will be turning people onto, that's a huge goal for me. Wow. But that's a goal the next 2 years. That's what I want to do. And go to DDPYoga.com if you want to invest in your life. Wade, awesome hanging with you, bro.
Awesome. Now, hold on, because I got a couple more questions for you on the VIP side of things, but I want to read a testimonial off your Facebook page, because I think this is cool. This is from Aaron Lake this week. By the way, tons of posts on your page, testimonials all over the place. It's not like it, and you're responding to people, too, on it, too, which is cool. But Aaron Lake said, I just want to send a big thank you out to DDP because I've suffered with horrible lower back muscular pain for about 6 years now, and I've actually found something I don't mind doing, and it doesn't kill my back. There have been mornings with my back that I could barely get out of bed to start my day, and I did the wake-up program, and I feel like a teenager again without the horrible back. I feel so much better, and my back isn't screaming in pain. I can actually move around and not have to stop because of my back. I want to thank you, DDP. Thank you so much. So lots of stuff like that, DDP, on that page. So definitely worth people checking out if they have any. I know I sound like you hired me to do your infomercial, but I just believe that this is a great program, and I definitely endorse people checking it out if they want to feel better.
Awesome, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.